Today, we are going for a proper deep dive into a world that, quite frankly, you really need one for. We're talking about James Islington's Hierarchy series. We're going to be focusing on the structural genius of the first book, The Will of the Many, but also looking ahead at the huge challenges that its sequel, The Strength of the Few, introduces.
Yeah, it really ramps up.
And what's great is that you've brought us a ton of sources that kind of let us peek behind the curtain. We've got fan analysis, deep reviews, but also a fantastic interview with Islington himself.
Right, where he talks about his writing process, and this is really timely, his take on AI in publishing.
So that's our mission today. We want to connect those three threads. The incredibly intricate magic system, the author's own storytelling evolution, and how this whole fictional society kind of mirrors our own worries about creativity right now.
And what's so fascinating, and I think why it just grabbed people immediately, is how it flips progression fantasy on its head. You know, usually you earn power, and that gives you rank.
Right, the classic trope.
Here, it's the complete opposite. Your rank, which you get at birth or through tests, that determines how much life force or will you can just drain from people below you. It's a system that's, it's built for permanent control by the elite.
Okay, let's really unpack that, the will system. Because if you don't get that, you don't get Catenan at all. The setting is this grand Roman-inspired imperial republic.
A Roman, yeah.
But its power isn't just about armies. It's built on, you could almost call it institutionalized vampirism.
That's a perfect way to put it. It's the will seeding system. The core law of the empire is that if you're a lower rank, you have to seed half of your life force to the person directly above you.
Half? That's a lot.
It is. And the sources point out this key distinction with age. Between 12 and 18, it's a choice. You can opt in. But the second you turn 18, it's mandatory. You become a resource.
So even if you manage to dodge it as a teenager, 18 is the point of no return. And this creates this 8-tiered class system. It runs from Octavus all the way to Princeps at the top. So how does the will actually flow to create that power gap?
It's all about exponential compounding. That's the real genius of it. Don't think of it like a tax. Think of it more like compound interest on a person's life.
Okay.
So at the very, very bottom, you have the Octavus. They give half their will up, but they get nothing back. They're just pure donors.
And that has to have, real physical consequences, right?
Oh, absolutely. They age faster. They're physically weaker. Their life expectancy is just, shot. They are the literal foundation holding everything else up.
And then one step up, you have the Septimus. Now they're both giving and taking.
Exactly. They seed their half up, but they're pulling will from the ranks below. And this is where the math just gets insane and makes the whole system so stable. A Septimus draws from 8 Octavus.
8 people's life force feeding into one.
Right. But it explodes from there. The next rank up, a Sextus, draws from 7 Septimuses.
Okay, so that means...
If you do the math, a single Sextus is drawing on the life force of 56 people at the bottom. 56 Octavus.
56 lives. All to power one person's strength.
That's a chillingly efficient system.
It is.
And what does that mean physically? It's not just a number, is it?
No, not at all. It translates to raw physical power. The higher ranks just incredibly durable. It's harder to hurt them. They hit with devastating force. Their stamina is superhuman. The whole thing is designed so the people at the very top, the Princeps, who take will but give none. They're basically untouchable. It's a system that prevents rebellion by its very design.
The math makes it impossible.
The math makes it impossible.
And they're not just using it to punch harder.
Yeah.
They're imbuing it into their technology, right?
Yeah.
The sources talked about things like linking pens for instant messages.
Yeah, or tracking people through their clothes. It's this really cool mix of ancient Roman aesthetics with, life force-powered tech. And that ties into the bigger mystery, the lore. This power isn't from Catenan. It's from these huge artifacts, the Aurora Columnae.
Right. These columns left behind by a whole other civilization, one that was wiped out by something they call the cataclysm.
So Catenan basically found the ruins of a failed society and built their entire empire on top of its magical and maybe cursed technology.
Exactly. Which kind of suggests their whole foundation is built on a ticking time bomb.
And that ticking time bomb brings us to our protagonist, Vis. He is basically the one person trying to swim against this entire current.
Vis is, he's 17. He's an orphan, but he's also a former prince. His whole family was executed by Catenan. So he's living under a fake identity, just desperate to not turn 18.
Because that's when he'd be forced to cede his will to the people who destroyed his life.
The very same people.
Yeah.
He's literally hoarding his own existence, trying to stay off of the grid.
But he gets noticed. A very high-ranking official, a man who goes by Ulciscore, or Viridius, he adopts Vis.
He does. And this isn't some act of kindness. He enrolls Vis in this elite military academy. He's positioning an asset on the board.
So Vis is thrown right into the belly of the beast. He has to learn to use this power that he hates, surrounded by the children of the elite.
And that academy is really a microcosm of the whole empire. It's brutal, it's competitive, and it's all about rank.
Now, there's a really key detail here. For most of the book, he's immune to the devices that force seeding, the sappers. Why is that?
It's because he hasn't connected to the power source yet, to the Aurora Columnae. The fan analysis is pretty clear on this. If you haven't used or received will, you can't be forced to give it.
So his immunity is his only protection, but it's temporary.
It's got a time limit. The second he connects, he's in the system. He's exposed.
He's a walking time bomb in a school designed to weaponize him. And the political pressure is just immense. You've got these three big factions in the empire, right? The military, religion, and governance.
And they're always clashing. They're not just, government departments. They're different philosophies on how to rule. The military is all about discipline. Religion provides the justification for the whole system. And governance runs the machine.
And Vis is stuck in the middle of it at the academy, with everyone trying to pull him to their side.
Plus, you have the external threat. This freedom fighter group called the Angries.
So he's hiding his past, trying to avoid being drafted into this life-draining system, navigating three internal political factions, and there's a revolution going on outside. It's an incredibly dense setup.
And that complexity, I think, brings us right to Islington's craft. Because he really changed how he writes for this series, especially compared to his first one, the Licanius Trilogy.
How so? What did he change?
The single biggest thing was the move from third person to first person. Islington himself said this was a huge push forward for him as a writer.
And you can see why, with Vis having to hide so much.
Exactly. He's constantly putting on a mask, calculating everything he says. If we weren't in his head, hearing his actual thoughts, the story just wouldn't have the same tension. That first-person perspective is vital.
So the narrative choice is directly tied to the character's situation.
It is. But he's still a flexible plotter. He has these broad outlines, he knows where he's going, but he lets the characters in the plot line sort of grow organically within that structure.
That flexibility must have been pushed to its absolute limit with the sequel, The Strength of the Few. It took a while to come out, and the complexity just, wow, it goes exponential, like the will system itself.
It really does. He admitted that book was so much harder to write. And the reason is that huge twist at the end of book one. It left him with a massive structural problem.
Which is?
3 versions of the protagonist. 3 different vices who start to diverge and change. I mean, can you imagine trying to write 3 distinct but connected narrative threads for the same character across different worlds? It's a huge undertaking.
And he also mentioned that real-world stuff started shaping the story more. Personal experience, global events.
Yeah, he specifically mentioned fatherhood. He said that having kids brought new perspectives on duty and sacrifice into the story. And you can feel it. There's way more focus on the secondary characters, like his companion Diago and Kalidas' family. The emotional stakes just feel heavier.
Those emotional stakes all come from that jaw-dropping ending of The Will of the Many. We have to break this down, because it takes the series from a political fantasy and turns it into something else entirely.
It is the ultimate aha moment. It changes everything that Labyrinth of Vis had to conquer in the Academy. It wasn't just a test.
It was a cloning machine.
It was a cloning machine, ancient, tied to the Cataclysm. And it creates 3 versions of Vis, each in a separate but connected reality. You have Res, which is the main world, then Obitium and Lucium. Suddenly, the whole story is on this terrifying, multiversal scale.
And there's an immediate, brutal cost to crossing between them, this idea of synchronization.
Synchronization, yeah. It's the new rule of their reality. When Vis loses his arm in one world, that injury is instantly perfectly copied onto the other 2 versions of him.
Wow.
It's a physical tether. If one Vis gets hurt, they all get hurt, which just raises the stakes for everything he does from that point on.
And the cliffhanger leaves him meeting Ulciscore's brother, who basically tells him the real danger is just beginning.
Right. And that ending just spawned this huge wave of fan theories that are driving all the discussion about the sequel.
Okay, let's hit the big 4. Starting with the man himself, Viridius, or Ulciscor, what are his real motives?
That's the central question. Why adopt Vis? Why system happy he survived a labyrinth that was designed to kill people? The consensus theory is that Viridius is multiverse aware.
He knows about the clones.
He knows about the clones, he knows about synchronization, he knew about Vis's arm almost instantly. The real question is he a villain or is he some kind of protector?
What's the theory?
The theory is that he's sacrificing students in that labyrinth to find someone just like Vis, someone immune, to help him stop the next cataclysm. That maybe the clones are the only way to stabilize reality.
Which would put Vis in an impossible position, teaming up with the man who killed his family to save the universe.
Exactly. Then you have the mysterious figure at the very end, the one tied to the Anguis.
The freedom fighters.
That person has powers that don't fit the will system, which suggests they also cross dimensions. So now Vis has a multiversal antagonist whose goals are completely unknown.
And the mysteries just keep piling up when you look at the people closest to him, like Lanistia and Emissa.
Lanicia's eyes. That's the key clue. They look like the eyes of the people who failed to cross into Lucium. It suggests she knows about the multiverse, too.
So she could be working with Ulciscor, keeping secrets from Vis.
Making his inner circle even more dangerous. And then there's Emissa, who tried to steal the heart during the final trial. Her motive is maybe the most fascinating.
What was it?
She said she couldn't risk us getting separated. The theory is that us wasn't her and Vis. It was her and her other selves in the other realms. She was trying to prevent the divergence that Vis is going through now. She was trying to maintain synchronization for herself.
Wow. It's an unbelievably intricate way. Okay, let's pull out a Catenan for a second, because Islington talked about a real-world dilemma that feels very connected to all this, the role of AI in creative work.
The connection is, it's right there. Catenan's a system of forced extraction. You're taking the life force of the many to empower the few. When Islington talks about AI, he's talking about extracting the creative work of many humans to empower an automated system.
He wasn't totally against it, though. His view seemed more cautious.
Cautious is the right word. He had this great analogy. He compared using AI to write a book to ordering off a menu and calling yourself a chef.
That's a great line.
It is. His point is that real authorship involves skill and labor and intention that goes way beyond just writing a prompt.
It's the core of the whole debate, isn't it? Where does the value come from if a machine is doing the heavy lifting?
Right. And he did say, AI could be a useful assistant for things like research or checking for continuity errors in a huge fantasy series. But the core creative spark, that has to come from the author.
He also raised a concern about the market, specifically for new writers.
Yeah, and this connects right back to the Octavus and Catenan. He's worried about the new authors at the bottom of the ladder who are now trying to break into a market that's being flooded with AI-generated books. It makes it exponentially harder for them to get noticed.
So it's another kind of extraction. In Catenan, it's life force. Here, it's a vast body of human creativity being used to train tools that might devalue the original creators.
It's a perfect thematic loop. From a fictional world built on extracting life force to a real-world debate about extracting creative will.
So if we pull it all together, the power system, the protagonists' fight, the massive multiverse reveal, what's the one big takeaway for you when you look at these sources?
The takeaway is that the complexity is the entire point. The Catenan system is so genius because the math makes it almost impossible to fight from the bottom up. The will of the many is just the fuel. And the big secret is the power source itself, the ancient columns, and the fact that reality is fractured. The Empire isn't just a government, it's a group of people trying to manage a cosmic emergency.
Which brings us back to that one last, really provocative question that the sources leave us with.
Right. We've seen this empire built on the coerced sacrifice of the powerless. The easy answer is that it's evil and needs to be torn down. But if that entire power structure, that whole system of extraction, is tied to the artifacts that survived the last cataclysm, then you have to ask a terrifying question. Is that unjust hierarchy the only thing preventing the next cataclysm? Is Vis, in trying to destroy the Empire, about to accidentally destroy reality itself? Something for you to think about as you explore the sources and decide if tearing it all down is worth the risk of total collapse.